shooting down scout planes is still fun.
As it's dropping napalm on your head.
Very much alpha.
Music, licensed tracks. In terms of playing it from helicopters, well, that's not something that's currently there, but may be.
And I think it's quite impressive that he's actually talking about that stuff and flying a Cobra at the same time. This may be proving that it's not actually on rails.
You might recognize some of the locations from the trailer. This is Song Bay, our first supremacy map that is still coming online. So you'll see some bugs and issues because it's not fully complete yet. But
I'll try not to fly through any mountains or trees.
Yes.
I'll also try not to crash because that's embarrassing. There's no enemies in this map. I'm just flying it around.
All right, do you want to take a question from the other side?
Yeah, sure. So back when the M16 was, I guess, first released to U.S. troops, people were complaining about the 5.56 round, and they were like, oh, this is a terrible round. It's not going to go through jungle leaves. So my question is, will the ballistics model in the game account for shooting through vegetation? Is there a difference between shooting some guy, you know, right in front of me or behind a bunch of leaves?
Some vegetation is the straight answer. I mean, calculating every leaf on the planet would get insane, and you probably need a cray to run it. As with other games that we've done in the past, yeah, I mean, trees and the solid stuff like that, big stands of bushes and so on, you know, will be probably impenetrable. Although, of course, we'll talk about bullet penetration. And yes, the bullet penetration between the AK and the M16 is different. Yeah. The M16 round, for those who aren't aware, is a much lighter round. The AK is a big, powerful round. Got a lot more kinetic energy behind it. So penetration will take that into account. Every single palm leaf, no.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, I was curious, considering how like the large sizes of these maps and things of that nature, I was actually kind of curious, was there anything that has been implemented or yet to be implemented that like increases like locomotion for like ground infantry, like bikes or jeeps or something of that nature?
You're asking about vehicles, particularly, or?
Yeah.
We don't have any plans for ground vehicles at the moment, partly because, you know, if you look at the Vietnam War, I mean, I think the sort of total of tank-on-tank engagements is about 0.
I think there's 1, 2 if you're really pushing it.
Yeah, in the real world. So we thought about the the 113. We'll look at that stuff. Don't walk into the rotor. We said live gameplay. Walking into the tail rotor hurts. As suitably demonstrated. What did you?
That was deliberate.
Oh, right. Yes. Please don't try that at home or at any airfield.
Another thing too is lean vehicles like Jeeps and stuff. Usually they just get used in a really kind of comical way. People crash them into things, jump them off of hills, ramps, or whatever, crash them into houses, and it kind of takes the immersion out of the game and just kind of turns into Battlefield at that point.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of felt, I mean, we'll look at vehicles again once the game's launched and see how people are playing. Our take on it at the moment is that once you've got helicopters in, are ground vehicles really going to add anything that helicopters wouldn't? So,
Thanks.
thanks.
So you guys had talked about asymmetrical game design. When you're including things like helicopters and bigger maps, how has that affected your map design?
How's that affect our map design?
Well, I mean, the Vietnamese do have, like the tunnel networks. I mean, I guess some of the maps have punji sticks and stuff like that. Are pre-placed. The Americans can't run through because they'll just get stabbed and die. There's, in Song Bay, for instance, there's landing zones for the Americans, big clearings, stuff like that. So it helps them have areas that are out of the way. They're not directly in the middle of combat or the objectives where the helicopters can land. The tunnel networks can be allowed so the Vietnamese can travel pretty sneakily around the map, underground and whatnot, pop up in unexpected places, hide from artillery or napalm, spooky, whatever. So it's...
But yes, it's when we first started talking about helicopters, it's one of those things we had to think about because you're dealing with the fact that if you've played RO2 or Rising, RO2 particularly with things like half tracks, you can cover a lot of ground very quickly, and we had to think about, this is where the supremacy game type came from, where you're looking at, you're actually stringing together objectives, and both teams have got the opportunity to get behind the other team. You can get pile a whole squad into a Huey, you're going to get behind them, and it's thinking about, it does put a different dynamic on the map design, and to be honest, we're still exploring that. We think we're in a very good place with that, but that's again where the beta will come into it.
Yeah, we had a couple of very early supremacy prototype maps, like Song Bay is our first one that really sort of started coming online as far as it has so far. But a lot of the earlier ones were more narrow-based and similar to our territory, because that's what we're used to. And we're like, let's just enhance territory and add this in. And it's like, no, we need this to be wider. We need more space. We need the objectives spread out. So it's quickly taught us, as we've been iterating, that we just need more room to play around in as we have these big ways, not just as the Hueys to move around, but the traps and the spawn tunnels as well, because you need to give players a place to come in from unexpected areas, or it's not really that useful as a tool.
As a result, have you noticed any parallels with some of your competitors in their map design, like Battlefield or something, or is it still pretty Red Orchestra, just a little bit bigger?
I like to think that it's still very much Red Orchestra, just a bit bigger, and actually with a bit more tactics involved.
Just realize what he's done. That'll teach you to show off.
The way Supremacy works is not exactly how if you come from the Battlefield world, it has parallels, but it's different, and we like to feel there are more choices and more tactics involved with how the map plays out, and it's designed purposely to be that way. So we think it is much closer to those who are used to the Red Orchestra franchise, and they'll feel right at home jumping into Supremacy.
Yeah, I mean, it still feels like a Red Orchestra game. I mean, bullets are very lethal. People are dying, screaming on left and right. Artillery's exploding everywhere. Like it's a madhouse.